They need this government to actually deliver something. Literally thousands of jobs have been lost.
Carney is losing another seat. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, Carney's majority is disappearing. He's not going to be able to get it anymore. His little floor crossing scheme didn't work. He's got three people now, Chrystia Freeland, Bill Blair, and Jonathan Wilkinson, all heading over to the UK, Ukraine, or Brussels, opening up three by-elections. On top of that, we have another riding now that the Liberals have lost. We have a ton of stories to get through. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we've got 76% of Canadians support the idea of CanZIUC, a proposed partnership between Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. This would allow visa-free travel between the different countries, boosting trade and economic ties. This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing, a visa-free travel. Mark Carney just got that with China. I'm sure this could happen. Not like anyone wants that with China, but moving ahead, we've got this one from Table Salt saying this is totally normal. Nothing to see here. New data is just released showing average household in Canada spends $12,000 a year on food. This is accelerating upwards as we see in this chart. We're around $8,000, $8,000, going a little higher, $9,000, and boom, $12,000. Mark Carney said judge him based on the cost of food. Well, time to judge him. And while we're talking about Mark Carney, we got the very woke Hill Times posting this. Carney is not abandoning Kuzma, but Trump's ego demands wins, and Carney has promised to sign a deal only if it's good for Canada. Canada must be prepared to walk away if Trump's demands would make us the 51st state in all but name. This is not what Carney's doing. He's doing what's best for him, not for Canada. It's interesting, this narrative they're putting out here that Carney's not abandoning Kuzma. It's funny, we got some fact checking here. Carney promised we'd get even better deal, Carney says after Oval Office meeting with Trump. Yeah, that didn't happen. And what's the result of Carney not getting a deal for Canada? Jobs leaving. We've got Kirk posting this, the collapse of Canada's manufacturing. It's been collapsing for a long time here. And looking at this closer, so this would have been Jean Chrétien here, Paul Martin to here, and then Stephen Harper to here, and then Justin Trudeau, and then Mark Carney. This needs to turn around. It's clear what Canada has to do here. Unfortunately, I don't think Carney's going to be doing the right thing here, investing in manufacturing in Canada, getting that sector rolling again. Instead, what do we have? They wasted $1.4 million on a net zero Yukon garage. And as Blacklock's reporter is saying here, we didn't need it, nor was it finished. The project was okayed by none other than Catherine McKenna. Where did all the money go, Catherine? We're still waiting for an answer on that. She did this to prove feds could lead by example on the C-word change. There needs to be accountability for this kind of stuff. Moving ahead, we've got Melissa posting this. Oh, look, Canada has just committed another $100 million to Ukraine under medical support. This was February 12th, as in yesterday. So we can see here, Ramstein meeting secures $38 billion military aid for Ukraine, and down here it says $50 million from Canada for the Danish model and $45 million for medical support. More money to Ukraine when Canadians are losing their jobs, living in tents, living in their vehicles, can't afford food, more money to Ukraine. This is all a big scam. Moving ahead, we do have some good news. Look at this. The Supreme Court has annulled the Liberals' victory in Terrebonne. It only took a full year to do this. What a joke. This should have taken a couple of days. Our system is broken. Clearly, there was mail-in ballots that wasn't counted, and since it came down to one vote, this should have just immediately been annulled. So with that said, there will be a by-election in Terrebonne now. So the Liberals have lost another seat. This came out, as you see, 14 minutes ago as of recording this. Supreme Court invalidates Liberal MP's election, win by single vote. And don't worry, folks, this gets better because the Bloc Québécois candidate, Nathalie Sinclair Desgagne, is leading in the polls. Now, let's look at a couple sources here. That result is coming from 338, projected 39% to 37%, so the Liberals have dropped a bit here. On Shreya Teeth's website here, Polywave, he's got this projected out at 44%, 44.4 for the BQ, and 33% for the Liberals, so much higher on Shreya Teeth's website, showing probability of 93% chance that the Liberals are going to lose this riding. So, SpaghettiOs to Mark Carney's majority, that is gone and off the table now. Moving ahead here, doing a quick update on the Tumbler Ridge situation. So we've got a graphic here showing all those that have perished during this terrible act here. We've got Abel Mwanza, Ezekiel Schofield, Tikaria Lampert, Shanda Avuguana Durand, Zoe Bennett, Kylie Smith, Emmett Jacobs, and Jennifer Jacobs. This was the mom and this was the brother. And then I believe that they had 4 kids. So the dad is now left with 3 of the kids. It's just heartbreaking stuff. Now we do have some good news. We do have one of the people here who was shot in the chest is recovering. There was another 10 or 20 people hit by the monster. In this case, pretty bad. Some of them not as bad, recovering from their injuries. We also have this from National Post. It says Mounties drew the Tumbler Ridge monster's fire away from the students and towards themselves. They responded in 2 minutes, getting the active threat away from the kids. This is incredible. So despite the nonsense, the woke nonsense from what I would suspect is the upper RCMP refusing to properly gender the monster, well, this this was going on. The RCMP that responded are heroes. And we do have this update here on Maya Galaba. This is the little girl who's in Children's Hospital fighting for her life. So she did survive through the night. She wasn't expected to, and she's still alive.
Maya Gabala, the sole survivor of the shooting in British Columbia that got a bullet to her head and neck, is now moving. This is a day 2 update from her family. She's moved. It's stimulus, a kick, a hand move, but it's something. It's truly something new in almost 48 hours. Keep up the positive vibes.
This is incredible. Obviously, she's not out of the woods. This is just the start, but hopefully she holds on here. And so something to note about her is she saw what was happening. She ran to the library door, I believe, and tried to lock out the monster from getting in. She tried to save everyone else in the library, and I don't think she was able to get it locked. She jumped and hid underneath a table, and then he chased her under there and pew-pewed her twice. Hopefully she pulls through. Her act of courage is not going unnoticed. Later on this year in the summertime, my buddy and I are going to we're going to attempt to do a couple of world first summits on some of the mountains around here. There's a bunch of unnamed mountains here on Vancouver Island. So I'll just show you here on the map. So there's a bunch of mountains that have names like Wolf's Den, Lupus Spire, Two Wolf Mountain, Saber Peak, etc. But there's a ton of mountains that are unnamed. Just looking on this screen here, you've got one here, one here, one here, and all they are just numbered mountains. You can see this one's called 1154, which is the elevation in meters. So my buddy and I are going to try to be the first people ever to summit a couple of these, and if we're able to, we're going to name one after Maya. Typically how that works is you submit it and then they have to accept it. So it's whether the government wants to accept that or not, that's on them. But considering her bravery, I think that's the right thing to do. It's sad that one of the victims here, this is Kylie Smith, in an interview, her dad said that they didn't even know what happened to their daughter for hours. The RCMP did not tell them anything, as we see on the Western Standard here. Parents say RCMP didn't tell us anything, found out our daughter was ended via the community. Other people had to tell them that their daughter had perished. So clearly there's a major breakdown here with the RCMP and the messaging, obviously with what we saw from press conferences. I don't know if this is a difference between the on-ground RCMP and then the higher-ups deciding what should be put out. Regardless, this is inexcusable. Moving ahead, we've got unhappy hour. Liberals to raise the stumbling juice tax April 1st as critics warn of higher stumbling juice prices and job losses. So this is an elevator tax that Justin Trudeau put in. Every single year, the price of stumbling juice will just go up until a new government is elected and that is removed from Parliament. Thanks, Trudeau. With that, we've got Crown Royal will remain on the LCBO shelves after manufacturer commits to $23 million in Ontario investments. I don't know how Doug Ford's getting away with this. He's essentially attacking one company that employs a lot of Canadians. This should be against the law, what he did here. But I mean, as someone says, why are we blackmailing corporations? I don't know how he gets away with that. I mean, I would assume they could sue the guy, but I guess they're doing more investment, which is good for Canada. But at what? Blackmail? Doug Ford's got more problems. He saw his polling data in the previous video, while Nate Erskine-Smith coming out and attacking him on his recent announcement, saying he's going to cut OASP grants from 85 to 25%. This isn't good for students. This makes life in university more expensive for them. And Nate Erskine-Smith, he's not messing around. He's right here, right on it.
I'm here at McMaster University, and today we learned of Ford's focus on fixing his own fiscal mess on the backs of university and college students. And, welcome to overpriced Ontario, where it's...
So we don't need to listen to this whole thing. We already saw his polling numbers for the youth is already high, and he's just going to absolutely anchor this. So Doug Ford's got some real problems here. Moving ahead, we've got Blacklock's reporter with this. In a smug and condescending way, CSIS seems hell-bent on gutting its reputation. What is this in relation to? CSIS Canada refuses to tell MPs how many ridings were targeted by foreign agents in 2025. Was my seat targeted? Asked Grant Jackson MP. Do you think I have the right to know that? Yeah, I think we need to know, considering Joe Tay was targeted by China and forced to the point where he couldn't even campaign. He had to have security, and his own life was in threat because of the foreign interference. Moving ahead, we've got Mark Nixon posting this. Canada is not on track to meet any of its climate targets, a new study says. Of course not. Has nothing to do with this. It's all about money. You mean to tell me taxing people to save the environment will in fact not save the environment? Yeah, it's not doing anything. But we do have this from Evan Solomon, AI Minister, at Canada's Auto Show. We unveiled Project Aero Borealis. This is a fully electric concept vehicle built entirely in Canada with contributions from over 55 companies. Oh yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. So you can see this vehicle, you sit inwards. There's no steering wheel. Autonomous driving vehicle. Some more photo ops. Let the free market do this. Of course, they're going to waste our money on this and then it'll never go anywhere. And while we're talking about EVs, we've got Stellantis here, Canada. CEO says sale of Ontario battery plant was due to poor EV demand. You bet it was. What are they doing? They're switching back to a Hemi V8. If that tells you anything. I thought this was an interesting interesting comment here. It's not EV demand is dead. It's that people aren't buying garbage legacy automaker EVs. I mean, people buy Teslas because they're excellent vehicles. They have a lot of very superior technology like self-driving. And if you're just driving around the city for the most part, they're going to save you some money as long as you don't need all that extra range. If you're driving out in the bush, if you're in cold temperatures all the time, well, you're probably not going to want a Tesla because it's just not going to be as convenient or easy or have the same range as if you're buying, say, a pickup truck. But as this guy points out, Tesla Model Y was the world's best-selling vehicle in 2023 and 2024. So, I mean, this then goes back to Stellantis, their reputation, and their EVs. Well, they're just not producing a product that competes with Tesla. And that's what we should do. Just have open market compete for this. Instead of Mark Carney wants to subsidize American EVs with Canadian tax dollars in Canada and say this is a good thing for us. Giving $5,000 per person to buy EVs is ridiculous. So with all this talk, we have Donald Trump reversing all of these environmental regulations in America, just completely slashing them.
Trump has reversed a landmark scientific ruling on climate change that was key to reducing planet warming gases.
It has nothing to do with public health. This was all a scam, a giant scam. This was a ripoff of the country by Obama and Biden.
In 2009, the endangerment finding concluded that a wide range of greenhouse gases posed a threat to public health. It became a key legal component to lowering emissions. Now the White House is calling the reversal the largest deregulation in American history, claiming cars will become cheaper and costs will come down for automakers. Environmental groups say this is the biggest rollback on climate change yet, and will challenge it in court.
Prices coming down, that is what's going to happen here, because you add all these little nickels and dimes throughout the entire production process, and it dramatically increases the price of these products once they're finally done. Conservatives hate clean air. See, that's not what it is. Obviously, we want clean air, but putting in all these environmental regulations that don't make sense, that just increase the cost of living, that's where we draw the line. We can do research and know where that line is. The eco-nonsense has already led to massive job losses. There's something underneath the hood here that's going on.
Mr. Speaker, last week was a devastating one for forestry workers and their families on Vancouver Island. Just outside Port McNeill, the Atlee chip plant announced it would be permanently closed. Curtailments announced in Ladysmith and Saltaire, at the iconic Chemainus sawmill where my grandfather worked for 20 years. These were good-paying jobs, the type that built communities up and down Vancouver Island and right across BC. This government promised to stand with these workers, to have their backs. Instead, mills keep on closing, workers laid off. When will this government's actions and results finally live up to its rhetoric and its words?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government stands with forestry workers. We've announced $2.5 billion in supports. We have a task force active right now looking at additional supports. I was in Prince George last week. Members in Conservative ridings want results. And I want to tell you a little bit of a story, Mr. Speaker. Last time we talked about this in the House of Commons, we got suggestions from the NDP. We put them into effect. We got suggestions from the Bloc. We put them into effect. We got no suggestions from the Conservatives. We want their help. We want to support this sector. We're tired of hearing noun, verb, and no solution every time these guys open their mouth.
Then why are you in power? These guys can't figure it out. So he's going to blame the Conservatives in question period instead of doing some research and figuring out what the problems are and then implementing them. It's up to the Conservatives to give all the solutions to these guys. If he can't figure out what the problems are, then why are they in government? And the Conservatives have told them time and time again what to fix. More lies once again.
Here's a suggestion, Mr. Speaker. Drop the ideological 30 by 30 that stops forestry workers from doing their job.
Aaron Gunn dropping the hammer. Now, what's he talking about here? 30 by 30. It's this. First, 30 by 30 Canada, leveraging carbon and nature finance as a catalyst for Indigenous-led conservation. Wonder who wrote this. If we look at what we do, what do we have? Carbon markets. Of course there's carbon markets. Connecting Indigenous-led conservation to the marketplace for long-term stewardship. The more I see this stuff, the more I'm putting the pieces together. I have a suspicion of what is going on, and it's not pretty. I will hold my tongue until I have more evidence. Nature-based solution markets offer new path connecting Indigenous land stewards with funders seeking measurable long-term environmental impact. Oh, really? Learn if nature-based solution markets can fund your nation's vision. First 30 by 30 is pleased to offer this service free of charge or commitment for Indigenous nations. Let's look at the 30 by 30 network. Nature for Justice, Isaac Olam, Nature Focus. Here we've got the team. Stephen Nitta, Eli Enns, Jeffrey Brown, Robin Barr, network of collaborators, Hypen, Vibrant Planet, National Indian Carbon Coalition, Social Carbon, Nature Investment Hub, Wildmon.
I appreciate my colleagues' comments on this issue. I do appreciate the government's promises of support, but forestry workers in my riding and across BC can't eat liberal promises, and they can't pay their mortgage with a liberal speech. They need action. They need results. They need this government to actually deliver something. Literally thousands of jobs have been lost. How many more mills have to close? How many more people have to be put out of work before this liberal government steps up and takes this crisis?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
30 by 30. I can't think of a more out-of-touch comment. They're clearly not talking to people on the ground. These are not the challenges the sector faces. We need solutions, not obstruction from the members opposite. I am welcoming them to work with us. We want to help them out. We need their help because they are the people on the ground representing conservative ridings with mills, and we're not hearing from them. They deserve better, Mr. Speaker.
And why does he get his butt out there and go ask some people, go to the mills, go to the workers and ask them what should be done? These guys are lazy. Moving ahead, we've got quite the post from Dean Blundell. This guy used to be a radio host at Crier Media. Look at this. This is the kind of stuff being put out on Twitter. I'm surprised he's not completely banned. Jamil Javani is an ugly N-word who supports P-word and R-word. Nothing to do with liberals or conservatives or politics. Brit, so he's referencing Brittany here, who was referencing that whole attack on Jamil Javani's appearance. Brit, but maybe when that ugly N-word P-word supporters party pays you for your next flight of brain-dead propaganda, you should ask him about being a N-word who supports a serial R-word P-word like you do. How does he not get banned off of Twitter? Do leftists support this? Are they okay with this?